Hi everybody, and welcome to the channel. I hope y'all are doing really well today. Okay, so I had some time to really process basically some of the things that I put in the first video about Miss LaShawn Massey. And what I wanted to do today was go over a couple of ideas that I had about it. I know that they did retrieve her body from the lake, which is just tragic. However, I wanted to take a look at some of the old and the new comments, are actually articles, some of the information that's conflicting, and then also just kind of break down and dissect this one particular article because some things really stood out to me. So this is right after she had gone missing, and the article states it had been nearly 36 hours since the mother of two had last been seen in Irving, after neighbors say they saw her walking around Lake Lago de Clare. Rachel O'Neill spoke with her husband. Okay, this lady must be a neighbor, because I'm discovering through some of the articles that I'm reading is that I think the old-fashioned print journalism has given way to AI, and the fact that it's kind of like been dictated into an article that just gets sent out. So, we are dealing with the media. So, and you all know kind of what I know about my time working in television news, and I kind of I understand a lot how it works. So you do have to take some things with a grain of salt, but what we're given are some, just we're given a lot. There's actually a lot of information that you can glean from these articles. So here, just to kind of help paint a picture, it sounds like this woman is a neighbor, and this interview took place at the apartment complex, I guess across the street. But anyway, 38-year-old LaShawn Massey had been missing since about 7. Okay, that's just been established that she went missing around 7. And this was like the day after she went missing, after her workout routine. Okay, so Texas Parks and Wildlife and the police had monitored the area, but still no signs of LaShawn. Her husband, Jeff Massey, says it's unlike the pageant queen, who was reigning Mrs. Dallas, to suddenly vanish. The husband had been posted in a chair viewing the lake since his wife's disappearance. He says that after her morning workout yesterday, LaShawn didn't send her normal check-in text, causing concern. By 7:30, he, along with 2 others, called 911. Okay, in the other articles that I've read, it was just the opposite. He says that after her morning workout, she didn't send her normal check-in text. But then other articles we've read have stated that he texted and or called her, and there was no response after a certain time frame, around 7:15. So Massey says he does not believe his wife is in the lake. Rather, someone has done something, or at least knows something. Massey says he plans to wait by the lake every day until his wife returns. Okay, that alone, the fact that her husband was posted in a chair viewing that lake since LaShawn disappeared, tells me a lot, really. I think there's a possibility, okay, this can go kind of 2 ways. I think there's a possibility that she was undergoing some sort of stress and possibly depression or depression, and had possibly maybe mentioned something that if something ever happened to her, that she could be found in that lake. And it was crunch time right before the pageant. There's a possibility that, we talked about in the first video that she could have snapped, but she might have mentioned to her husband that she was really stressed out. She might have expressed that she felt like possibly taking her own life, or that she just wasn't herself, and might have alluded to the fact that if she had ever gone missing, that's where she would be. Because for a husband to post himself in a chair viewing that lake, all of the effort was put on the lake, all the attention, and from the get-go has been put on the lake. Now, I'm just going to kind of play devil's advocate here and say that if someone that I was married to, my husband, or my pet, my dog, if my dog suddenly went missing and I lived around a lake area, I wouldn't go put my chair out in front of that lake, because I cannot tell you how many injuries, physical injuries, I have received when one of my dogs gets out, going out and looking, running after, or going out looking on foot in an absolute sheer panic, getting in my vehicle and driving all over the neighborhood. And not just me, but other members of my family. We all live this neighborhood. Everyone's very tight-knit. When something happens, we all get kind of involved on that level. So, that's one great thing about it. But I find it, nothing would ever stop me from going to search for my pet. Nothing. There would be a point in time I would have to let it go, but I wouldn't sit outside of my house. That's just me. That struck me as a little odd, that the fact that, I guess what I'm trying to say is the fact that he was just sitting there in front of that lake like that after it had been dragged, especially, to me, it's almost kind of a supernatural thing, and that he was just like basically waiting on her to emerge from that lake on foot, alive still. That he was still in so much shock and trauma, possibly, and disbelief, which is what happens when something to this magnitude happens. You don't think like a normal person, so you almost believe in a story, almost like a fairy tale. You kind of go into a fairy tale mindset, almost like a childlike mindset. So I'm looking at it like the fact that he was posted there waiting for her to come out of that lake was almost like he was waiting for like a ghost or like an angelic figure to appear, and that she would just emerge from that lake. That's the only thing that makes any sense to me. Because if you really thought something or something had happened to her, because he says here, Massey says he doesn't believe his wife is in the lake. Okay, that just doesn't make sense to me. Rather, someone has done something, or at least knows something. Massey says he plans to wait by the lake every day until his wife returns. But if he says that he doesn't believe his wife is in the lake, I cannot imagine, if I did not truly believe that, say my pet got loose. I'm just going to use my pet because I'm one of those people that will go for my pet no matter where it is. If something happens, I would not just sit and wait for someone to come back, actually. If something happened to one of my loved ones, I would not just sit and wait for them to come back. And that's where people go nuts, I know, but it just, I don't know. And then he says that rather someone had done something, or at least knows something. So, those are two kind of warring, I think he's kind of a little bit at war with himself here, because he's sitting there, but then he thinks something has happened to her. He says that she knows how much I love her, how much I cherish her. She's my life and she's my world. And she's going to come home. She's going to come home. She was on a very good career path. She was very excited about it. So there was a lot of positive things in her life. Well, to me, this really reads a little bit like a couple of things. She knows, present tense, how much I love her, present tense, how much I cherish her, present tense. She's my life and she is my world, and she's going to come home. She was on a very good career path. She was very excited about it. So there was a lot of positive things in her life. So in this paragraph alone, we're reading person in present tense or future tense. When you say someone's going to come home, that's future tense. So we've got present and future tense, and then we've got past tense. She was on a very good career path. Well, in Dallas in general, I'm going to kind of make a societal uh, statement here. Dallas is a very image-oriented money town with a lot of glam, and it's cosmopolitan, and everything is about how you look and who you know. It's all about that. You know, in all reality, I think anybody who lives there would tell you that. That's just how Dallas operates. I know a lot of other big cities, but Dallas has got a special, it's like that. It's just that way. So people are often identified, their worth is measured by who they are in terms of career, how much they've accomplished, and how they look. You can't get around it from up there in Dallas. So, he's holding out hope, obviously, but this reads a little bit, this part kind of stood out to me that she was on a very good career path and she was excited about it. So people base a lot of their self-worth just in general and in society on we're also attached to someone's job title. And when he says she was on a very good career path, I know she was obviously heavily involved in that just uber competitive world of beauty pageants. That world in and of itself is just, it doesn't get any more competitive. It's like bodybuilding, but I think it's even more uh, competitive in a way. It's all about how you look and how you dress. It's all based on your outward appearance. It's empty in that way. And you have to spend a lot of money on dresses and hair and makeup and nails, and it's just the perfection. It's an arena of perfection. And so when he says that she was on a very good career path, I know she had an engineering business, her own engineering business, and had a really good job, I believe, with an environmental firm there in Dallas. It could have been with the University of Dallas. I would have to check that out. I wasn't going to really go into all that. But she was really excited about her career path. And he says here there were a lot of positive things in her life. So in reading this, it almost sounds like what you would tell somebody who is extremely depressed and who is considering taking their own life, or who might be exhibiting signs of severe depression, inner turmoil. These are things you would remind someone about that. You would remind them how much you love them and how much you cherish them, how much they're your world. And that, you have such a great career, to be excited about. You have so many positive things in your life to be excited about. This really reads to me in some ways like somebody who's in his mind pleading he could have, maybe he had to do this a lot with her as of recent. Her family might not even know. She could have been going through some really difficult emotions and really might have been struggling to want to live. And that's what this really kind of reads to me a little bit like, more than anything. And so the husband sounded like he was very attentive to her. And I mean, it's sort of sounding like, reading this, it's sounding like she was really struggling with wanting to live. And that's a very personal thing, and it's something that you don't want anybody to know about other than your significant other, because of the shame that comes along with any type of mental illness. And it's really sad that our world is like that. And that would be something that you wouldn't tell anybody in Dallas about. You wouldn't tell your friends, you wouldn't tell, especially when it comes to a pageant. You have to be perfect in this pageant. So then this other woman who I'm taking as either a reporter or a neighbor, because this article doesn't read grammatically correct. She said that the neighbor said that she was told LaShawn was preparing for a pageant this weekend, Mrs. Texas. That's just an unbelievably stressful event, in my opinion. That does not sound exciting. That's where, like I've mentioned before, that's where you go to get judged and scrutinized by everyone. And there's going to be a lot of pictures, and there's going to be a lot of attention, and it's just it's not the greatest place, in my opinion, that you would want to be in, especially possibly in the emotional or mental condition she was in. It could have been too much. So, those are kind of, I feel it's like a kind of almost a really bipolar way to look at it, is you've got him up here stating that, he's basically he's in the chair waiting for her to basically emerge out of that water, but then he says that there's no way she could have done this. Like, he knew she wasn't in the lake. So he didn't believe she was in the lake in the first place. Okay, so then I want to move on to another article. If I can find it, it'll be a miracle. I know where it was located. It was found in, okay. Let's see. It had some conflicting, info, in my opinion. Okay, I believe it's here. Let me just double check. If not, I'll just read it off of my other device. Okay. Here's something that's really troubling to me. We all know that Jeff is the husband. Okay. On that Tuesday, his wife, LaShawn, was reported missing around 7 after her daily walk. That's kind of new, right? That she was reported missing around 7 after her daily walk at Lake Lago de Claire. Jeff Massey said that his wife was taking a walk for the last 2 years around 7. And Jeff said so at about 7:15 he got a little nervous and he texted her. Right? And we just read in the other one that she texted him and he didn't get that text or call. So he got a little nervous and texted her, and then he gave her a call and she didn't answer. So at the time he found our security guard down here and said, I'm sorry, I have allergies again today, you all. But anyway, so this is grammatically incorrect. He says that he gave her a call, but she didn't answer. So at the time, I found our security guard down here. And this is when I believe he was in the gazebo outside, and said that so what, subject, verb, tense, and all of that agreement is matching. So the security guard had seen LaShawn or somebody, over in the canal. Okay. She knows how much I love her and how much I cherish her. But I have a real problem with that. Okay. The problem I'm having is that either this guy saw LaShawn or he didn't. The security guard. Either he saw LaShawn or he did not. That woman, this woman here, you either saw this woman here or you did not. I mean, there's just absolutely no way that either he saw her or did not. He either saw LaShawn or somebody in the canal. That's what I read in another article. I'm going to try and find it. Oh, yeah, it says it here. That the guard had seen her or somebody over in the canal. I mean, how blasé is that? Oh, I saw her over in the canal. Who is the security guard? And let me please have his badge back. If that security guard saw that woman in the canal fully dressed, he should be fired. That's just how I feel. Because I can tell you all, y'all, in that neighborhood, no woman just goes into that canal, goes in and out, swims in and out, gets in and out in her clothes that she'd been sleeping in. She would have never. Okay, that security guard saw this woman and was okay with it. He said it like he said, oh yeah, I saw her or somebody over in the canal. There is no way that anybody has ever been swimming in that lake. Not in that neighborhood. And I'm just really troubled, y'all, that security guard didn't render help, or he didn't call the police or try to get her out and reason with her, because the sight of her and her fully clothed without a mask or any type of swim gear or anything like that would have been a huge red flag. That would have been a huge red flag. And I'm going to venture to say that it's always the last person that saw someone alive or not that typically either holds the key or knows directly, or that the police would zero in on. That's just detective work 101. But this incredibly gorgeous woman from like Planet Spectacular. I mean, she's just otherworldly beautiful. You're going to tell me that security guard saw her or someone made a mistake in who she was and then didn't render aid or didn't try to help her, because her being in the water, y'all over there would have stood out like she had had some kind of psychotic break. That just defies logic. It defies any kind of logic on that security guard. And then for him, the husband, I mean, it's really hard. So we're dealing with a really strange set of circumstances. After that, the husband added, instead of saying, here's what he added: she knows how much I love her and how much I cherish her. Those two sentences don't go together. I'm on the fence and I'm off the fence. He takes me a little bit, I'm on the fence, and then I'm off the fence with these people. What he ought to say is, I want to speak with this man, find out what he knows, find out what he saw, find out who he is, get his criminal background report check, and take his badge until he can provide me a darn good reason why he didn't help whoever it was get in or out of the water. Because that neighborhood, these women like her, LaShawn, there is no way on God's green earth that woman got in that water on her own accord, unless she was planning to drown herself. I've really got a problem with that security guard right now. I'm going to have to let it go, but I don't like that at all. That woman did not get in her with her pajamas and her hoodie on and get in that canal and it go unnoticed by that man. And the fact that the husband says that she knows how much I love her and how much I cherish her, just those two don't fit together. Instead of saying, I hope she's okay, can you all please hurry up and go find her? Or there's no, I don't know. You know, I guess you have to ask for yourself. Here you have someone, the last person to see her alive, and then you go and you shift and say, she knows how much I love her and how much I cherish her. Unless he already knew that she had drowned herself. But then he said he didn't believe she was in the lake. But then, you know, they did drag the lake and she wasn't in the lake. She was in the canal. So he was really focused on the lake. Then the security guard, he finds out, said that he saw her or somebody. Her or somebody is a way of saying yes and no. He's deflecting, in my opinion, his culpability, if there is any. That's kind of a way to deflect it. So he, you know, the husband could just be reacting here and saying she knows that she wouldn't do anything like this. She would not drown herself, knowing how much I loved her and cherished her. She knew. So maybe, you know, once again, this is how he's providing comfort to himself because of what happened to her. And like I said, it could be that she might have said it a few times that if anything ever happened to her, that she'd be in the lake because of some type of mental distress that she was in. And she just may not have ever told anyone else or gotten any help or been too ashamed to seek help and couldn't because of her status and stature there in Dallas. She might have been afraid to open up to anybody because Dallas is very cutthroat. It's a very competitive city. And when it comes down to these women in these pageants, the claws come out. People will do anything to get to the top in Dallas. Excuse me, you guys. I've been sneezing all morning. We just had a big storm come through, so all the pollen's out. Well, her brother Frank said that he just doesn't believe it. They said she has too much going for her to ever walk away and not come back. She always stood out, was the smartest. And the neighbors said, we ask and command that she be returned whole and healthy. Odd that she be returned whole and healthy. I mean, it sounds like they were praying. When they say the whole and healthy, that's implying again to me that something was broken. Something inside this gorgeous butterfly was broken. She's only human. If she only knew that, you know, God would provide her with the comfort through via, you know, another individual if she needed help. But I know that she's getting the world's best treatment and comfort and care where she is. It just makes me sad that she couldn't go to anybody and talk about what was going on inside of her. So we know now that the body has been, you know, recovered, and we're just waiting to find out the cause of death. And it may very well just come back as a drowning. But, you know, these two people look happy. I mean, they really do legitimately look happy. He is currently serving as pre-owned director at David McDavid Honda. I know where that is. I know that business. I'm a Dallas girl, so I still know. He started his career at Ashbury Automotive Group as GSM pre-owned director in Little Rock. He later worked at Steve Landers Auto Group as a GM sales manager. Look at how beautiful she is there. Gosh. I mean, he must have been so proud of her. He is a very successful man there in Dallas. This is kind of his resume. His wife, there she is with her boys. It says here she's a model and businesswoman. She's reigning Miss Dallas, and she's written a book called The Face of the New Engineer. And I'm in the process of reading that right now to try and understand her better. He's 50. So it's really difficult. A case like this is just difficult. All you have are the statements, time frames, and knowing that she was seen getting in and out of that water as early as 5:30 a.m. And this went on until 7:30. That's 2 hours that she was trying to get in and out of that water, that she was hanging around that water. And actually, physically, if you're to believe the witnesses, to physically be getting in and out of the water, and apparently the police had already been notified. And by the time her husband became aware of anything terrible happening, there had already been calls to the police. So why didn't they go out there and investigate who this woman was? I mean, that's erratic, really erratic behavior. Why didn't they go out and do something? It's just really hard to say. It's just a really bad set of circumstances. The one thing I would really want to know is why that security guard that saw someone in the canal, that's the thing that really stands out. And it stands out that he waited in that chair for her. Almost like he was waiting for someone to come out of that water. Like the gorgeous woman she is, that she might just come out. And then he stated that he didn't believe she was in the lake, and she was actually found in the canal. He didn't say anything about the canal except what the security guard said. So, it's, crimes like this, you want to find someone to blame. You want to find a culpable party so you can tidy it up and teach a lesson, and it can never happen again. But that's just not how it works. And some cases maybe so, but in a situation like this, I think it's important for all of us to know and keep measure on what's going on inside of us internally. Because our world has shifted, and we don't live in the same country anymore that we once did. And maybe she took it a little harder. Maybe she took it pretty hard and didn't feel that she could measure up to all of the roles that she had in society. When the truth was, she was just beautiful beyond belief, and she did measure up. Even if she didn't do those pageants, I almost wish she hadn't gotten involved in those pageants, because she's just perfect the way she is. But regardless, this is one just blessed, beautiful human being who achieved so much in such a short time. And I pray for her and her family to find peace. Okay, everyone. Well, we're going to find out what happened, and if it does turn out she did take her own life, then she's just a beautiful reminder of how fragile we all are. And no matter how great everything is going on the outside and how perfect we try to make ourselves look and how perfect we try to be. The only real true perfection comes from God. And it is okay to just be yourself. It says in the Bible that we're not really measured. And God doesn't measure us by our title or our wealth or accomplishments, worldly accomplishments. But in a city like Dallas, that can be lost, and it is. It's lost everywhere, I think, but especially there when you're Mrs. Dallas. Okay, well, I will speak with you all very soon, and shout out to my subscribers, and I pray for all of you out there just to keep special tabs on your loved ones and the ones that are close to you. Make sure they're doing okay. Okay, everyone. Much love and God bless. And I'll see you all soon. Okay, well, bye-bye.